I wasn't going to make a story time tonight because I really need to get to bed. But I had this flashback of a memory, and I just had to tell the story of it because it was lost from my mind, and suddenly it's back. And I guess it's because I'm talking about some of these things. But when me and my sister were very young, my brother lived with his mom still. He didn't come and move in to the house until like way later. So when we were very young, we moved to this double wide trailer that was like in the middle of fields, basically. But you know, living in a trailer, if you've never experienced the trailer house living, walls are very thin and floors are very bouncy. You can hear every footstep. You can hear between the walls. I would often get in trouble for not having my room cleaned, and we would have to have our rooms cleaned in a particular way. Like, in my mind, things would look clean, and to him, they would not be clean, and I would get my ass whooped. Like, it was severe. It was severe. And there were times that, like, he would expect us to have, I don't know, like, my mom, later, she went and got her master's, after, I went and got my bachelor's, and she got her bachelor's, and so she went and got her, no, well, when she went to get her bachelor's, she got her bachelor's in rehabilitation studies. She then went to medical law. Anyways, she had to do some research on mental illness, which was actually kind of a time changer for her in my relationship, because it was almost like a light bulb clicked in her head. That I did things, and it wasn't because I was just a terrible human being. It was just because that's the way my brain developed. And part of that is people with bipolar disorder, their minds tend to be expressed outwardly, and it is reflected in the environment in which they inhabit. So, my space of living, my room, was always a disaster. My dad was a truck driver, and it would be very kind of scary whenever we knew he was going to be coming home, and when you would hear that truck drive into the driveway, your heart would start getting really fast, and you'd start getting really scared. Not all stories are bad about him, but there was a lot of bad shit that did go on, so this kind of, unfortunately, is one of those things, and it flashed back in my head, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. But I remember a particular time we had to have our rooms cleaned, and I don't even know how to even say that. Okay, we had to have our rooms cleaned in a certain way, and when we got our rooms done, we were supposed to sit at the end of our bed and wait until he came into the room, in which could be at whenever he felt like it. And if he didn't like it, then we would get he would get a belt, and he would whoop us, and then he would say, "You need to do it again." And so that's what we did. And there were times that I would have to sneak to my sister, and it was because my sister gave me a lot of comfort when we were young. And from the time that we were very, very little, we had always kind of shared the same space, shared the same room. When we moved to the double wide, she had a room right next to mine, which was on the other side of my parents' room of the house. And there was a time that kind of, I don't know, I still remember this one, because it kind of hurt me a little bit emotionally, as far as I can remember. My mom had crocheted this elf's hat. It was like a long sleeping hat, you know. And I was cleaning my room and I found it, and I was happy. I was okay. I was doing what I was told. I put the hat on, and I thought I was done. I thought I was done with my room. My dad had fallen asleep, and I was waiting for him, and I don't think I was in the right spot or something. And something was off to him. I ran from him to this futon that was in a what was called a den. It really wasn't. I don't know what the hell you would call it. We didn't use it for anything really, but it did have a futon bed in there, and he grabbed me and he threw me onto the futon. He took the hat off of my head and started smacking me with it, and it broke my heart a little bit that he did that, because I felt kind of cute, and then I felt like I was a terrible human at the same time after he did that. And I don't even know if he made me go back and clean the room or not. Like, I don't know. What I would do is I would clean my room, and I would step really far away from the room. Like, I would get all the way to the doorway, and I would just scan the room. And if, like, anything looked like it could be something that might catch his attention, like, I would have to go and fix it. And I would do this repeatedly. And to the point that, like, my books, I would think, okay, well, maybe my books are throwing him off. And I would go from the tallest to the smallest and organize them that way. That particular night that the event happened, where I was thrown onto the futon and not only whooped with the hat that was on my head, but with the belt, I remember crying, and I was left to stay there. I don't think I was allowed to go back to my room. Now, this is very hard for me to remember everything, because this was a long time ago, and I don't quite remember all the details, so it's kind of spacey, and I'm sorry. But as I know that I ended up on the futon, and I was kind of stuck there, and maybe it was partly in terror, maybe it was because of something that he told me that I had to do. And I remember, after a little bit, I had been crying, and I had been on this futon, and I had gone to the other side, because it was split by, like, this fireplace, which why the fuck you would have a fireplace in a trailer house is beyond me. But anyways, so I snuck around, and I just kind of asked him, I was like, can I go sleep with my sister? And he was like, no. And so I just kind of was like, you don't argue with that. So I went back to the futon, and I waited until I knew he was asleep. And I crawled to my sister's room, and she knew, and she wanted to do something for me, but she couldn't. And there were times that, like, I would climb in her bed, and we would just hold hands until I went to sleep. I haven't thought about this in a long time. And then there were times when I couldn't get to our room. I think sometimes we would tie letters and shit to paper and slide it under the door, because our door frame was right next to each other, but the walls were really thin. And if we weren't allowed to get to each other, we could put our ears on the wall, and we could talk to each other that way. And we did. And my sister protected me as much as she could, which was one of the reasons why she had to move out, was because she was being a big sister, and she was being a good big sister. And I love you, and I just want you to know that. And I hadn't thought about that in a really long time, and I didn't really expect to fucking get that emotional over it. Oh, man. That was tough. That was tough times. And, I love you. I love you for that, and I really miss you. So come visit me when you can.